Hi, Margarita here, and today I'm going to talk about 10 things that landlords wished that renters understood.
This is a journey into sound. A journey which along the way will bring to you new color, new dimension, new value.
Now, before I get started, I want to put out this statement that this is not to be construed as legal advice. This does not express the views and opinions of any company that I've worked for or that any of us who in property management work for. These are just true laments that we as landlords and property managers have that we would really love renters to understand about when you're renting an apartment or a house or office space from someone, how the interactions can go better. The purpose of this video is to help renters understand exactly the perspective that landlords have and to provide opportunities for better communication between tenants and landlords so that we can all get along much more cohesively and that you can have a better rental experience while you're in your space. Now, people may ask, why listen to me? Well, as of the date of this recording, I have been in the property management industry for 17 years. I hold the highest designations in my field, including but not limited to the CAM, Certified Apartment Manager, CRPM, Certified Residential Property Manager, CMCA, Certified Manager of Community Associations, CAPS, Certified Apartment Portfolio Supervisor, and CPM, Certified Property Manager. Now, someone who has these designations would have a good idea of what landlords are looking for. And I put that out there. I put it out there very humbly. It's not something that I brag about, not even something that I tell most people that I have these designations. But ever since the you know what has happened, there has been a lot of unrest between tenants and landlords. And I think that it's a disconnect in communication and understanding what role each person has. So without further ado, let's get into it. Number one, if you are not on the lease, you don't live here. So many times people will sign a lease and it's just one or two leaseholders, but they'll have additional people on the lease. Big no-no. Every person in your apartment must be properly documented with the management office or the owner or whoever the powers that be are that run the apartment complex. This is to protect everyone. If you're not on the lease, there is no obligation to you. Don't have anybody, including a lot of times, especially when we've rented to people who may not have a lot of experience in renting properties, they'll put their parents on the phone or a mentor or someone who is not on the lease. If your name is not on the lease, the landlord is not obligated to tell them anything. We don't owe anyone the explanation of why something isn't or is a certain way or basically anything. If our contract is not with the person we're talking to, we don't owe you any kind of explanation or answers for anything. Our obligation is to those on the lease. Additional people. Again, you cannot move additional people, and this includes animals, into an apartment without properly documenting them. You must follow the policies and procedures set forth in your lease. Number two, don't wait until it's time to pay rent to start complaining. In my experience, a lot of times when tenants want to stall on paying rent or just feel like they have something to say, they'll wait until 2, 3, 4 days before rent is due, or even a couple days into the grace period, because typically rent is due on the 1st by the 5th. And then all of a sudden stuff's broken. This isn't how it's supposed to be, and I didn't get this, and you promised me that. That is not the time to complain. When you see something is when you say something. Do not hold your complaints or your maintenance requests or anything until close to time to pay rent, because the landlord is going to think that you are stalling and trying not to pay. The best thing to do is to make a work order through the proper channels that your management company has set in place, and do so at the time you notice that something is wrong. This helps us as landlords fix things more efficiently. Oftentimes it'll help things from progressing to getting worse because maybe you just overlooked something for so long and just said you can live with it. No, please report anything that you see that is not how it's supposed to be at the time that you notice it. Number three, Feelings have no place in business and contract negotiations. Now, I know that when you're picking your home and you're in your home, it's a very emotional thing because it's where you live, it's where you lay your head, it's where you host your family. However, when you have terms of a lease involved, how you feel about those terms don't matter. Those things don't matter because you've signed and already obligated yourself to it. The time to negotiate the terms of your lease is before you sign it. Once you have signed your lease, how you feel about a certain clause or because you've had a change of heart about something does not mean that you get to decide that you want to do things differently. No. What if the landlord did that? What if, for example, we don't feel like fixing the leaky faucet. I know it's in the lease. We're supposed to fix certain things we provide for you, but we just don't think that it's important right now. You would feel like the landlord has really misled you and done a disservice to you. The same works on the opposite end. It's reciprocity. When we sign a lease with a tenant, we expect the tenant to abide by those terms that are set forth in the lease, despite how they feel about the terms. If there's anything that you do not like in the lease, you want to negotiate those terms first before signing it. Once you have signed your lease, you are obligated to all the terms that are set forth therein. Number 4, read your lease. That's right. 9 out of 10 questions that landlords receive from tenants can be answered on the first page of that tenant's lease. We get so many calls, visits, emails, etc. about when is my rent due? How much is my rent? Can I have or do XYZ? And all those things are typically found within the first page of the lease. Negligence is not a protected class. There's lots of protected classes, and that's a whole nother conversation about what protected classes are. But a landlord cannot be held liable for a tenant's failure to hold up their end of their rental agreement. Another thing to that point is get to the point. When you contact the office, as much as we love our tenants and want to know what's going on with you, we just don't have time to have a long, drawn-out conversation about things that are not directly related to the apartment or the issue at hand. We would appreciate it actually if you make a prior appointment before coming to the office, especially. Please don't expect the property manager or leasing agent or anyone in the office to be bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to have a very long conversation with you and you have not made prior arrangements. We have so much to do on a day-to-day basis, and you're not the only tenant that we serve. And in order for us to offer better customer service, we need to be able to plan accordingly. To that point, if the office opens at 9, we would appreciate it if you would at least let us get into the door. Don't be at the office at 8:55 with your face pressed against the glass. It only further aggravates us. Please note, we would love to help you, but help us help you. Please understand that we are just one person, or in most cases, just a small group of people trying to help over 100 people at a time. And we can only do so much without prior notice. So please make an appointment. Number 5, if you don't like rules or noise or anything, any type of discomfort, we recommend that you buy a house. And I say that wholeheartedly. A lot of times people don't understand in rental communities that you will hear your neighbors sometime. You're in a box, so to speak, that is connected to other boxes. There are people who live in those boxes, and they walk around sometimes. You will hear people walking on occasion. They talk to each other sometimes. Sometimes you will hear voices. In the hallway, people speak in the hallway. Some people have pets. There may be children running. It is a natural occurrence in a communal living situation. Please, we appreciate it if you do not call the office every time you hear your neighbor sneeze, every time you hear someone talking in the hallway, every time you hear someone walking above you. The only time the office should be contacted is if it is a true nuisance, such as loud music after hours, fighting and conflict, sounds of that nature, banging, maybe like deliberate noise or hammering again after hours, and things of that nature. Normal apartment noise is something that happens. Also, the amenity spaces when it comes to following rules. Please note that apartment amenities are designed for the lease holders primarily. Now, you may be happy, I got a new place. I love this building. It's got a pool, a gym, a basketball court, a lovely patio and grills, and that's wonderful. But those are for people who pay rent. It is very rude and inconsiderate of a tenant to have 25 guests over in the amenity spaces and only one person is on the lease. Unless you have reserved a space, some places have reservable spaces where you can reserve a cabana or a party room or something like that, where you can have multiple guests already there, where it typically will not adversely affect the other tenants that live there. Then that's fine. But if you have not made a prior reservation with the management office for a specific cap on number of people, please do not have everybody in the amenity spaces who does not live there. It is really frowned upon, and it's just in bad taste. What you want to do, a rule of thumb, if you would like to have guests, no more than 2 guests per leaseholder is my recommended rule of thumb. If you have a great pool and it's 4th of July weekend or Labor Day or different things like that where people are really trying to have a good time, please keep in mind that other people live there too, and they may also want to invite a guest. Amenities are not private spaces. They are not reserved for just one specific resident unless that resident has made a prior reservation. Otherwise, please keep it at a maximum of 2 guests per leaseholder. Number 6, if it's not in writing, it most likely did not happen. I recommend every time a lot of my friends come to me for help with their leases or if they're having issues with landlords, and the first thing I ask when they say that they were promised something or something happened or didn't happen, I ask, did you get it in writing? Do you have an email that you can produce, a contract, a document, something written on a piece of paper, anything that you can produce? Because if it's not in writing, it's very rarely ever enforceable. Sometimes people say things in passing all the time, or a lot of times tenants feel that something was promised to them that wasn't, because they may have misheard or misinterpreted something that a staff member has said. So I always say, get it in writing. If you have a grievance with your landlord or property management company or any staff member at your residential complex, your best defense is to have it in writing. Especially if there's a change in terms. For example, sometimes there are clauses in leases where it states that these terms cannot be changed unless mutually agreed upon, by landlord and tenant in writing. If you did not get any agreement or confirmation in writing from a staff member who is authorized to make said agreement, it's not enforceable. It is very, very rarely ever going to hold up in an argument or a dispute when it comes to rent payment, a lease violation, or anything of that nature. So please make sure that if it's something that's important, put it in writing. This also goes for maintenance requests. Make sure that they are put in writing through the proper channel that the landlord has directed you to use. Please do not circumvent the systems that the landlord has in place. These are for your protection and your records just as much as it is for ours. Number 7, the maintenance team is not your therapist. Oftentimes, my maintenance staff will come to me and they will just kind of vent, saying that the resident, basically, while they're trying to work, the resident is literally standing over them, telling about how bad their day was and how whatever it is, the issue in the apartment that's being fixed has made that day worse, and then going on a whole tangent and rant about things that really don't apply to the maintenance person themselves. Please keep in mind that if you have an issue, report the issue to the property management office, not the maintenance team, especially if it's something that's not specifically related to the item that the maintenance tech is fixing. Also, please do not add new items to what needs to be fixed while the maintenance tech is there. The maintenance tech has been assigned and dispatched a specific thing to fix at that time. If there are additional items, please make another formal work order through the systems that the management company has put in place and inform residents to use. Please don't add things on, because again, if it's not in writing, it didn't happen. This is for your record keeping as well as ours. A lot of times residents will say, oh, well, I told Jim while he was in my unit that, I know he was fixing a light bulb, but the sink drain wasn't working. And then we're like, well, where's the work order? Did you send any type of correspondence to the office? Well, no, I told Jim. There's no way to verify that. So please, I can't stress this enough. Communicate through the systems that are in place through management. It really helps us stay on top of making sure that we provide the best service to you. Number 8, Just because there are grace periods does not mean that you must use them. This is particularly the case when it comes to rent payment. Like I said previously, rent is typically due on the 1st and by the 5th. I have literally heard people say, I have the money now, but I don't have to give it to the 5th, so I'm not going to pay it. That's trifling. No other way about it. If you have the funds, pay the rent when you have the funds. Please note that your rent payments help us pay the salaries of the people that fix the apartment, also the mortgages and the bills that accompany having a building. Being a property manager is not a glamorous job, no matter how people think. We are not just here because we have all the time and money in the world and we just want to just give things away. No, it's a business and we have to treat it as such. Say, for example, you're at your job and you know you're supposed to get paid every 2 weeks on Friday, but your boss is like, well, yeah, we know we're supposed to pay you, but we could pay you on Tuesday or Wednesday. So I think we'll just hold it till then. I mean, yeah, we have the money on the day that we agreed to pay, but because I can hold out, I will. Unacceptable, right? You held up your end of the deal and you came into work and did what you were supposed to do. But then your boss, who you have an agreement with, just decided not to do so because they could. The same works with apartment rentals and rent. When rent is due, pay it when you have the money to pay it. And that doesn't mean that you're not making an effort to get it on time, but pay rent on the 1st whenever possible. Number 9, do not abuse assistance programs. There are lots of wonderful programs and nonprofits and governmental agencies that are put in place to help people who have difficulty paying rent, who have difficulty navigating through life due to disabilities and things of that nature. And people who truly do have a hardship definitely should have a chance to make their situation better in whatever ways that are available. However, there are plenty of people who abuse these systems, and that's not right. I have had people, tenants who I've actually found out were abusing systems just because they could. And that's not right. And it's not fair to the people who actually need these products and services. And it takes away from the people who actually are intended to use these. If you claim to have a disability, whether it's physical or not, make sure that you actually have that disability and properly document with the agencies to get it. Do not piggyback on someone else's disability just because you quote unquote can. I've had someone who faked blindness once and used the blindness as a disability and actually were found out and were dealt with authorities. And I have other residents who were also blind and they caught wind of this and it was hurtful to them. When you do things in the name of fraud, you are truly hurting people. And this is something that I feel very strongly about because it's not right. There is so much in this world and there's so much for everyone to do and everyone has to pull their own weight. And we as landlords have to tiptoe around so much as it is because we want to create a sense of community. And we do not need people committing fraud just to take advantage of benefits that are not owed to them. So if you truly do have a hardship, be it financial, physical, mental, or anything, we are happy to help, but please don't claim any type of hardship in the name of fraud. Number 10, last but not least, return the apartment in the condition it was given to you. Normal wear and tear accepted. This is a very common clause in leases. Again, usually on the first page. When you move out of an apartment or any type of rental space, do not leave it trashed just because, well, the landlord's going to clean it up anyway. I've heard that so many times, and no, there are charges and we will definitely pass those charges on to you that we incur. It's also very time consuming and it's just plain nasty. Do not leave furniture items in the apartment that you don't take with you. It costs the landlord to haul away these items. You cannot set furniture in the alley. There are fines for that the landlord has to pay. Make sure that you clean up any junk, especially the appliances. Don't leave a refrigerator full of food. Don't leave bathroom sinks and tubs and toilets nasty. Don't leave hair everywhere and things of that nature. Whatever was not in the apartment when you got there, make sure that it's not in the apartment when you leave. Also, stains and scrapes and scratches. Make sure that you patch any holes that you put into the walls. If you dirtied up the carpet, please clean the carpet. Yes, that's something you can do. If you've had pets, sometimes there may be odors. You want to do an extraction of those odors or just some type of lightweight cleaning. And what's funny is a lot of times the landlord doesn't even expect it to be perfect. We just want to see that you at least tried to return it in a decent condition. So please, please, please return the apartment in the condition it was given to you. Now, another thing about that, when it goes to the normal wear and tear accepted. Normal wear and tear does not mean, and this is a big pet peeve of mine, leaving the inspirational messages and words that you've taped onto the wall. Believe, life is fabulous, wonderful. I am a beacon of light to the world. You know, all the inspirational messages that people put on the walls. They're cool while you live there. We don't want to have to remove them. It is such a pain. And sometimes they do strip the paint. If you change the color of the walls, if you paint while you're there, please prime over that color so that we don't have to. That is something that you will be charged for in most leases. Also, another thing that's not normal wear and tear are stains in the carpet. If we did not give you a carpet with stains, we do not expect to be returned carpet with stains. If you have hardwood floors, sometimes wearing stiletto heels will dent that, especially if you have the bamboo floors, which is a softer surface, and it's very susceptible to being dented by stiletto heels. Ask me how I know. If you have pets also, the paws can be very, very hard on the floors. That is something you'll be charged for if we have to resurface or even replace some of the planks in some cases. Another thing that's not normal wear and tear is leaving the sinks and surfaces such as counters and appliances dirty. Just because you cooked in the oven does not mean that we need to see the pizza cheese that dropped down to the lower level of it because you didn't feel like cleaning it. We don't want to see the stains of spilled milk and juice and food leftovers in the refrigerator, nor do we want to smell the moldy food that you left in there for us. Those are not normal wear and tear items, and you will be charged for the removal and cleaning of these things. Just because we do professionally clean and repaint apartments between tenants does not mean that we have to do it all. We expect to have to do a lightweight work or a lightweight job on that. Unless you've been in the apartment for more than 5 years, carpet should not have to be replaced. Appliances should not have to be replaced. A lot of things should not have to be replaced when you move out if you were there for less than 5 years. And if you were there longer than 5 years, a lot of times we will tune these up while you're there, especially at renewal time. We are happy to make sure that things are lightly cleaned, or you may get touch-up paint and things like that. Landlords love long-term tenants, but you must work with us. And we are happy to do whatever you need to keep you as our tenant, because we hate having to remarket an apartment, incur the cost of doing a full turn. A turn in property management jargon is just the painting, the cleaning, getting it ready for a new resident. We love all of our residents and we want you to have a great experience. But again, you have to help us help you. Well, this concludes my 10 things list about what landlords wish that renters understood about renting an apartment or just living in any space that's not owned by the tenant. Again, the purpose of this video is to be kind of a nice, simple guideline of maybe understanding why, if you interact with your landlord, they may be not so happy about having to do certain things because they technically shouldn't have to, and how to help us provide you better service by communicating through the proper channels and making sure that things are done in a timely fashion and in accordance with your lease. Well, I'm Margarita, and I appreciate your time. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. We talk about fitness, fashion, fragrance, femininity, food, fun, and lots of other wonderful F words, because all F words are not bad. And until next time, have an excellent day. Bye.
This is a journey into sound.